If you're feeling behind in life like everybody else is so much further ahead than you, then this is your sign to stop spiraling. Here are all the things that I wish somebody had told me sooner about feeling behind in life. Okay, so if you're feeling like, I don't have $1 million business, I don't have my dream job, I don't own a house, I don't have my dream body, whatever it is, you have to ask yourself why this is the benchmark for you. The first thing I'll say is that feeling of feeling behind in life is basically the equivalent, it's akin to FOMO, but just for your life. That's literally the best way to think of it. It's literally just FOMO. FOMO, or fear of missing out, is this feeling of anxiety or stress that you feel that you're being left out of something that everybody else is participating in. And that's exactly what we're experiencing when we're having this anxiety around being behind in life. Think about it. You feel like everybody else is living this amazing life. Like they all have $1 million in their bank account, like they all are homeowners, like they all have perfect relationships, and like everybody has amazing mental health or something. But the reality is that couldn't be further from the truth. We're living in times where there's literally a cost of living crisis, where more people are losing their jobs than ever, where there is so much job insecurity and financial insecurity, and nothing is safe and anything could change at any moment, especially if you are an entrepreneur or a business owner. So if that's the case, if that's the society that we're all living in, who is it that we're comparing ourselves to? Who is it that we're benchmarking ourselves to? It feels like everybody, right? It feels like we're the only ones who are in this position and everybody else isn't. And I would argue that what is heightening this feeling is social media. The nature of social media has significantly changed over the last 10 to 15 years. It used to be this place that was very social, where you would go and connect with new people all over the world, all over your country, and actually develop real relationships. However, regardless of which social platform, it feels like the people with the most curated lives make their way to the top. So the people with these seemingly perfect lives are the ones who get pushed to our feeds, are the people who we strive to be, and ironically end up being the people who make more money, even though they probably never needed it in the first place. But I used the word curated earlier, and that's exactly what this all is. It is a curated highlight reel. For example, me and my friend have mentioned this one guy that she is actually friends with, who she has known for a long, long time. If I were to show you guys any of his social medias today, you would be like, wow, he's so successful. He's a rich entrepreneur. He has it all together. But the reality is he grinded and worked for this for literally a decade. I'm not joking. He has been consistent at what he's been doing for a decade. But you wouldn't have necessarily known that. You would have necessarily seen the struggle, because even from the beginning, it was a very curated experience that he was providing people who were viewing his social media profile. Everything that he's gotten, he has worked hard for, and he absolutely deserves. But I say that to say that we're in a time where people believe that you can be successful overnight, because we hear about these once in a blue moon people who become successful overnight. But the reality is, it is rarely just overnight. It rarely actually happens that quickly. There was so much going on behind the scenes that you were never exposed to, and because of that, you almost feel worse about your position, because you're looking at other people thinking that they made something happen for themselves really quickly, so you can make something happen for yourself really quickly. But the one thing that I've learned is not that good things take time. I don't necessarily believe that, but I do believe that in order for there to be sustainability to whatever it is you want in your life and what is good for you, that usually takes time. So again, you're feeling behind because you have this FOMO for the lives of others that might not be real, or what you're seeing might not fully represent what their life actually is. And I see this all the time from a business perspective, where people are trying to build their businesses in a way that doesn't necessarily align with the lifestyle that they want. For example, what was really popular in the entrepreneurial world was this idea of being a boss babe, of being a CEO that has 50 employees, is grinding really hard, making millions of dollars, and somehow still seems to have it all with this luxurious lifestyle while putting in 100 hours a week. I just truly believe that most people don't know what they want, like really, really want. Instead, their desires are actually being spoon-fed to them through a feed, through social media. Like, you think your dream life is your dream life, but it's not even your dreams. And I would argue that a lot of the things that people are putting on their vision board are actually not their vision for their life, but just almost a highlight reel of what they wish they could show people. So I challenge you to ask yourself, what are your real desires? What is it you want? If you weren't constantly comparing yourself to people on your timeline, what would your vision for your future look like? Because one thing that I do believe is that your life can look like whatever you want it to look like. However, when you're working in a direction that's actually not in line with who you truly are, what your values are, what your beliefs are, then you're always gonna have a tough time chasing things that you're misaligned with. And that's part of the struggle, right? Is some people are out here putting in the work and thinking, why haven't I achieved what I've been trying to achieve? But again, it's not because they haven't worked hard. It's not because they haven't put in hours, but it's because there's this universal misalignment with the things that they're chasing. I know for me, that was definitely the case. For many, many years, I was that hustle hard type of girl who was working a million jobs, who was working a million hours, who was starting businesses and my businesses were failing. And I never could understand why. I felt like I was a capable person with the skills that I needed and with all the information that I needed, as well as the discipline and hard work to back it up. So why weren't things happening for me? But when I look back, I just see that there was this natural misalignment with what I was chasing. It wasn't necessarily what I wanted truly deep down in my core, because the reality is those things that you are truly passionate for, set your soul on fire, those things happen in your life with ease. I don't mean there's no hardship involved in this life, but I just mean it's way easier to position yourself for success. Once I completely let go of what it is that I was trying to chase that wasn't necessarily aligned with what I was working towards, honestly, things happen for me pretty easily. And it feels like we're never supposed to say that. It feels like in order to prove our worth, we're always trying to talk about how hard we're working. But I genuinely believe that when you're not focused on everybody else and when you're focused on yourself and your true desires and passions, that honestly, that alignment comes very naturally. I also wanted to flag this idea of a social clock, because ultimately this is what is driving us to feel that FOMO. It's a concept I saw online recently, and honestly, it just completely hits the nail on the head. The social clock is this idea that each culture has designated timelines for when major life milestones are supposed to happen. And the biggest thing to keep in mind, guys, is that this is so cultural. I remember being in Europe with one of my friends, and we had met these, late teenagers, 18, 19, at the beach. And they were basically implying that we should be married with kids. And guys, I'm not joking, we were literally like 25 at the time. But again, there's this variance in major life milestones and when you're supposed to hit them based on literally where you are, not only in the world, but where you are in your country even. For example, I recently moved to a new city, and when I would walk around, I would genuinely feel like all of the parents that I was seeing, like, a mom, dad, and a baby, I felt like the couples were so young. Like, they looked insanely young to me, because I moved here from a city where honestly, when I would go and pick up my nephews from school or from daycare, I literally looked like a teen mom. Like, I was by far the youngest person. Most people were around 40 or older, and their kids were still very, very young, and they had just had kids. Why? Because ultimately, this social clock, this idea of what major life milestones you're supposed to hit at what time, it changes over time. Just in the last 10 years and 20 years, it has changed radically, and it has to do with so many factors. For example, as humans, we're living longer than ever. If you look at women in the US alone, our life expectancy is over 80 years old. But society often treats us like all of our major life milestones has to happen before the age of 40. And when I say life milestones, I don't even just mean, getting married and having kids. I'm also talking about the things that drive income as well. So achieving success in your day job or having already become a multi-million-dollar entrepreneur. But if you seriously think about it, if we were to check off all of those boxes before the age of 40, that would mean that the last 40 years of our lives would be pretty boring. So please unshackle your mind from this FOMO that you're feeling, from all of the societal pressure that is completely misaligned with who you are and what you really want. Instead, focus on yourself and the season that you're in. Are you building, healing, resetting? Really identify your priorities and what it is that you're working towards. These might not be the same things that everybody else is working towards and seem to be the desires that everybody else has in their hearts, and that's completely okay. You need to reframe the struggle, and one of the ways that you can reframe it is by thinking that feeling behind isn't failure. It just means you're on your own path, and that's what life is. Life is our path, our journey, and nobody can define it for ourselves except for ourselves. If you guys like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.